Hey Fit Fam, it is Coach Rye from Team Flex. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Ben Weider Naturals Pro Bikini, and we're going to look at our top 5 competitors, go over the placings a bit, go over the criteria, and why the placings may have landed the way that they did on this day at this competition, and what that means for you as a bikini competitor out there trying to bring your best to stage. And that's what I talk about on this channel all the time, the tools, the tips, the strategies, the things you need to know to be your best competitor. So if you're new here, subscribe. We got a lot more coming, and let's get down to it. So as I said, this is the Ben Weider Naturals Pro Bikini. So all these competitors in this lineup, we can, take with a pretty good confidence are natural, okay? And they would be tested, they would be assessed, and otherwise are natural athletes. So this is a very exciting time for all of you natural competitors out there. We are seeing a lot of natural NPC and a lot of natural IFBB events coming to play in 2025 season, the next season here. And Ben Weider's Naturals is one of the ones that we're looking at here on the docket. So let's look at our top 3 in this lineup here. We have Alana in first place. She's the winner. We have Hiei over here taking second place. And then we have Ukachi over here taking third. And again, if I'm mispronouncing these names, sorry for that. I don't know everybody's name exactly down to how you pronounce it and everything else. If you are one of these athletes and you would like me to say it differently in future, please reach out and let me know. Okay, so here's what we got. Right out the gate, you can tell same criteria, right? Just because it's a natural competition does not mean that anything is changed, anything is different, right? Like natural competitors, you can compete anywhere in the NPC and even into the IFBB. You don't have to worry about, PEDs and all that. Other competitors, yes, are of course always going to be on them, but you do not have to do so. And in this lineup, we know these are natural athletes. So looking here, what we can see is the criteria remains the same, which is the strong hourglass shape in the bikini division. So, the width of the shoulders tapers into the waist, comes back out into the lower body, and we'll see all 3 of these ladies here really do exemplify that nice hourglass look. So where that really comes down to, again, is a certain tier of muscle groups. So really, we got to look at the shoulders. When we look at Lana, we can see she's got really good, shoulder shape, good development in the upper body. This creates that first bit of that width the judges are going to be looking for, right? If you don't have this, you haven't been training hard enough, you haven't been building that muscle, you haven't built it for a long period of time, it's not going to favor you well on stage. You do not want to go to stage with no shoulder development. You want to have nice, full, round shoulders when you get there, and that's going to make an example for, not only have you done the work, but you're bringing the criteria to stage, and that's what judges want to see. So Lana really has a nice shoulder development. We get a good roundness, good fullness. It creates that upper base. Another thing I want to point out about her is I'm not distracted by her arms to any degree, right? So, bikini division, we always talk about the arms, making sure that they're on point, they're on target with the criteria of the division. That's what we see here as well. We can see that the arms are not taking over. She does have muscle there, but the shoulders really take the show in the front pose. And that's what you want. You want to see that across the board. So all of you competitors out there, if you got the kind of bigger arms, sometimes you do. Sometimes you have that from a former sport or something, or maybe it's just your genetic way that it's come down for you. You want to make sure that your arms do not overpower the shoulders, because if they do, it'll throw off your symmetry. So Lana really has nice symmetry there with the arms, bringing in the shoulders, letting the shoulders take the show. Next area we got to talk about is the waist. So she's got a very narrow midsection. This is what you should be having in bikini division. Flat stomach is really what judges always say for criteria, and we can see she's not holding any extra body fat there. Stomach is flat, and it is a narrow waist effect. Bringing this in a little bit more too would be advantageous for her, I think. I think it looks like she probably could have drawn in the abs just a little bit more, but she won the show. I'm just talking for further feedback ideas for all of you competitors out there. And if we look to the lower body now, this is where we get to see the symmetry really is on point. It is on target exactly with where her upper body is. We see development here. We go down here to the glutes. There they are. So glute development matches shoulders, matches, quads, matches hamstrings. This is a really nice lower body look for her because the glutes kind of take over. They kind of show the effect. And then we look to the quads, we look to the hamstrings. This is in very nice symmetry. Good symmetry between these muscle groups is always going to lead to better placings on stage, no matter your level. This is a pro event for bikini, but even if it's your first competition in the NPC or whatever, it's going to be something that is going to be favored and looked upon in all stages is that balance of the lower body. So she really has that dialed in. Now, when we look over at Hiei, what we can see is a lot of similarities. So good shoulder shape. Again, not too distracted by the arms. That's all there. Midsection is narrow. Really where she kind of doesn't seem to come up to Lana's level is in the lower body. Okay, so we look here, she's got solid glute shape, but the upper glute looks a little bit more depleted, a little bit flatter, if you will, right? So maybe not as much development there, or it could be something to do with the peak week, how you approach that. If you didn't fill out enough, right, that can be a factor. And her lower body size is good. Her quads and her hamstrings, are in very good symmetry. It's just a simple fact she doesn't have as much muscle, not as much pop from that upper glute or an overall glute there. And, her conditioning maybe a tad harder, maybe just a tad little bit leaner on that side, which could have, taken some of the fullness out of the muscle. So Lana really nails her conditioning, has these lines that judges want to see in the quads and in the glute, and then the abdominals, a little bit in the shoulder. Where she looks a little bit stringier, a little bit leaner in that regard, and maybe that's a factor for her. However, taking second at a pro natural event, nothing to scoff at, you guys. Just trying to give you better insight into how these placings may have landed the way they did. So now looking at Ukachi over here, what we can see, solid shoulder shape, it's all there. Where she's getting the different effect on her physique is it looks a little bit more up and down in that sense, in the torso, into the glutes and the hamstrings, quads. So this basically means, to me, looking at the upper body, it's a bit overpowering. So her shoulders kind of over control the front pose in this. It's more of a kind of taper out and, go more square look versus a total hourglass. So this indicates that either the shoulders are going to be a bit too developed, or she needed to kind of upsize the lower body. And in her case, I wouldn't say that she needs more lower body. It looks like she's pretty much dialed in there. It's really more so just, making sure the shoulders are not going to pronounce this pose. So that's definitely an area for her. Again, very close in points for all three of these ladies from this front pose. Let's take a look from the back, though. We always say bikinis one from the back. Take a note with you. Bikinis one from the back. Make sure your glutes, your tie-ins, and your hamstrings, everything's on point. So here's what we see from the back pose here. We got Lana in the middle, good shoulder shape. This is what judges want to see. We, again, want to see that kind of width being created up in the upper body that tapers down into the waist, the midsection here, and that's, again, what we're going to see. Now, this is where Lana's glutes, her hamstrings, her tie-in, everything kind of stands out a lot bit more here. A lot bit more, if we can use those words even. We got, good upper glute development. You can see it really popping through. Good overall glute development, and the tie-in zone is tight, everything there. That's what judges want to see, that slight separation between the glutes and the hamstrings. And then looking to the lower body, her quads match, her glutes match, everything here, just very, very good symmetry. So from the lower body perspective, really a slam dunk from the back, very clean look, very on criteria look, and obviously the winning look here. If we look at Hiei, again, very good overall shape, size, everything is there. A little bit maybe leaner. We can start to see some threading in the delts from the back. That's an indication of being, maybe a tad too lean. And her lower body here, we can see that upper glute is a bit flattened out, a bit depleted, like I said. Her glutes overall in a good development, but with that upper glute being a little bit flatter, it kind of puts you out of a little bit of balance. And, her tie-in seems to be coming through a little bit too hard compared to the upper glute. So all of that really does showcase to show she doesn't even have the same amount of muscle in the legs either. So it's a little bit of a, her glutes look very dominant from the back, but that's actually not favorable for her here because her quads, her hamstrings are not matching to the same degree. So she looks a bit asymmetrical, coupled with that upper body that's pronouncing too much. That's not going to be as favorable as it could have been. So now looking over here, Ukachi, what we can see, good shoulder shape, good overall shape, tapers in nicely. The lower body looks very dominant here. So her pose from the front, upper body looks very dominant. From the back, lower body looks a bit dominant. But I would say here, even though that's all tying together a bit better for her, a bit stronger in the back pose, it does appear her condition is a little bit softer than the other two above her, right? So we can kind of see that in the tie-in. There's not as much three-dimensionality here, not as much pop. So that's usually going to be a combination of not having as much muscle, glute inserting into the hamstring, and then also not having as much condition. So that can make a difference. That's what I think I'm seeing here from this back pose, but also we're getting a little bit more of a quad effect from her than we should be, I think, right? So if the quads are overtaking, they're a little bit over dominant, which we kind of saw from the front there. This we can see definitely from the back, which can, push the look more towards a wellness type of look, even though she's definitely not wellness right now. It can just be something where that shows a little bit more of that asymmetry in those muscles, which again, judges will look at and see, okay, not as, balanced as it could be for bikini. That's not what we want to see. All right, so now let's move into our fourth and our fifth place here. Joining the lineup is fourth, Brittany over here, and then we have fifth, Stephanie right here. So another two great athletes in the top five at a Ben Weider Naturals Pro bikini event. Very, very good look overall, but some clear differences I think we can talk about. So looking at Brittany, what we can see is the shoulder shape. Everything is there, ties in nicely. Big difference for her is the midsection. So due to the way she's choosing to pose here, looks a bit more squared off. So that's one thing you want to note. If you square off your front pose a bit, you can often look a little too rectangular. For her, she has really solid shoulder shape, so we still do get a taper, but it's less dramatic. It's not as dramatic of a taper as we are getting from Lana over here because, she's got her pose a little bit more rotated. So a little bit of posing tweak I would probably suggest in Brittany's direction there, but also some other areas we can see. She appears to have a little bit of an uneven conditioning in some areas. Like her stomach looks very flat and everything is here. That's good. But her legs look a lot leaner than her midsection does and that her upper body does. So we start to see some separation, some more muscle threading, things like that going on in the lower body. That's a little bit of an uneven condition. That will favor you not as well in scoring with judges at any level. So, make sure your conditioning is even out. You might say, well, how do you even do that? You can't spot reduce. You can't. You really do have to figure out a combination of making sure that you have the right muscularity and then the right body fat, coming in together. And that can take a various amount of time. It really is individual for every person. And it is something that a lot of competitors do end up dealing with. Now, looking to lower body muscle-wise, very good shape, very good, overall structure, symmetry, upper and lower looks good. I think that pose is really the thing that kind of, changes this look, but also she does not have as much overall muscle, looks a little bit too lean, okay? Now looking over here at Stephanie, she's got a ton of muscle in this lineup, very, very big shoulders, really nice taper into the midsection, and the lower body shape and everything is here, but it's a bit overpowering from her quads compared to the glutes, and overall her upper body is clearly taking the show. So it's very, very big in the shoulders, very developed there. That kind of comes back to say that her lower body ends up looking a little bit underdeveloped compared, not as symmetrical as it could. So conditioning's on point. That's everything there, but shoulders really taking the cake here for the look, and it makes her appear a bit imbalanced. And this is also an athlete where I'm getting a lot of the arm, effect, a lot of the bigger biceps, triceps, where that can be a factor for you in scoring as well. So let's take a look from the back now. Again, we have our fourth and our fifth in the lineup with Lana, the winner. So looking here, Brittany has, this shape overall, very good taper from the back. Honestly, if she had mixed up that front pose a bit, maybe that would place her a bit higher in this lineup, but still comes together. And this is where we get to see the lower body, though still, you can tell the conditioning's just a little bit different. She's got good upper glute shape, overall glute shape, the tie-ins coming through. It's not as much of a tie-in look as we could be getting. And again, the muscularity in the legs as well as the conditioning just doesn't seem to match the upper body in this instance. So again, all the markers are there, maybe a little bit of uneven conditioning and some reshaping of some muscle groups would have favored her. But again, top five at a pro event, nothing to scoff at, ladies and gents, okay? Looking over here at Stephanie now, so huge shoulder look we get right out the gate again, just a lot of that muscle up top. I mean, this rear delt is just basically carving out and popping. That's something we're not seeing a lot in bikini. So she's got a ton of muscle. We do get a lot of quad sweep from the back here. Again, that's more of a wellness look, and that's because of the wellness size of the quads. So again, indicator, a lot of muscle, too much muscle. And the glutes appear to be a little bit out of symmetry compared, since we're not getting as much of that tie-in look here coming through. All of those things need a little bit more, glute and hamstring, high hamstring development to get that tie-in to pop through. and that would have favored her better. So overall, these are things you want to be paying attention to. This is a Ben Weider's Natural Pro Bikini event. Very good look. You can compete in bikini naturally. You should compete in bikini naturally. I tell athletes this constantly. Do not fall into the trap of doing PEDs and steroids and things like that. You don't need to be doing that to do very, very well in bikini, and that's clear here with a literal natural pro event where these athletes, again, this is attainable naturally. So a very good event, and I'll be covering a lot of the natural bodybuilding of the NPC and the IFBB. So please make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow along, and let me know what you think of these physiques in this lineup. Do you think the placings landed the way they should have? If you have ideas for competitions you want me to cover, drop them in the comments. I'll get to them. All right. Thanks for watching. Coach Rye is out.